And thank you for starting the recording. We are happy to have Ms. Dolores Ali and Dr. Patrick Crane with us today to share some really great information about the Student Success Center. And just want to remind folks, as you have questions, feel free to click raise your hand or type those in the chat box. And if you're speaking, we encourage you to turn your cameras on. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ali.
Yes, good morning. I want to start with a quote. Students want to have those connections. They want to understand the culture. This is an excerpt of a quote from an educator. I'm related this quote excerpt to a community college graduate whose name I changed to Jasper. So who am I? I am Dolores Prad Ali. I am the executive director of the Student Success Center. Yesterday made 3 months for my time in this role. But I want to share some more about Jasper through the story titled, I Did It For Us Because They Promised There Would Be a Stage. The story, I did it for us because they promised there would be a stage. So Jasper graduated from a North Carolina Community College and now has a master's degree with a management role at a prominent healthcare facility in North Carolina. Jasper went from unemployed, divorced, 3 toddlers, no car, but with the ability and a motivation to do. Jasper told me she did it because her children were watching her start the school thing and she knew she had to finish. Jasper told me that an instructor set the stage of expectations, progress check, and support. That same instructor, along with others, impacted her college experience to earn a second place national competition. That accomplishment and being welcomed with all her baggage to class helped her to dream about the stage. Jasper said, when I walked across that stage to receive my degree, that instructor smiled with me gracefully, and I said to her, thank you. And she said to me, I told you the stage will be there. I asked Jasper to tell me, what would you say about your experience overall? She said, along with the programs that a college has to offer, it's important for students to feel connected and part of the culture. Colleges must make sure students know about the connections and culture because word of mouth is trusted. Remember the excerpt of the quote that I started with? Students want to have those connections. They want to understand the culture. What I would like for you to do at this time is to share with me some words that come to mind when you see these images on the screen. I would like for you to use either Slido, the first link at the top in the chat, or use the chat feature. Just key in some words that come to mind as you see the image on the screen. And I'll give you up to 30 seconds to do that. Okay, about 15 more seconds. Thank you. So as I'm reading, I'm seeing diversity, happiness, connections, friends, learning, collaboration, community, excitement, diversity, technology. And those are some of the intent, exactly what this story, as far as this image, should tell you. And definitely what I got from Jasper. So this kind of feedback from you all share whether the purpose of the Success Center is prevalent at first glance of its webpage. Thank you for sharing. During this presentation, I will cover the topics listed, ask questions or share comments orally as we go along. I will ask you a couple of times to do a couple of more responses using Slido or to use the chat feature. I want our time together to be informative but engaging. I have learned over the years as an educator for 31 years now, colleges are rethinking goals to support their students' experience to improve outcomes. This has been more prevalent for me since I've taken the role as the executive director with the system office, hearing more and more about how colleges are rethinking goals to support their students' experience. College students aim to attain a credential to transfer or go straight into employment. Most students do not attain those goals. To obtain better outcomes for students at scale, colleges may go through institution-wide changes. These changes could be transformational and effective with support and access to expertise and interaction with peer colleges in similar transitions. And I know this has been highly respected for me, talking with peers, interacting, who are experiencing some of the same goals that I want to accomplish, as I have talked with other community colleges representatives within North Carolina or executive directors throughout the United States about the Success Center. Fortunately, the North Carolina Student Success Center has a staff and a partnership with the system office. This staff, as presented here, and with its partnership with the system office, can support community colleges' efforts to increase student completion rates to attain success at scale. Most of this work is using the guided pathways as a framework. And I imagine many of you have heard about the guided pathways and the framework. And so I will share more throughout this presentation exactly what is meant by the guided pathways and from where the framework of the guided pathways were adopted. The Student Success Center is committed to key players, just as many of you on this call today, as presented here, who set goals and priorities, translate the big picture of change into actions to meet campus goals, participate in the process of change by contributing their expertise and perspective, or provide input. Support for these key players to impact transformational change is promising. So the guided pathway framework that I mentioned earlier comes from JFF, Jobs for the Future. JFF has collaborated with other student success centers, investors, and partners to build and expand the network of centers. In addition to managing the network, which is bringing centers together for trainings and events, JFF plays several roles as shown on this slide. JFF supports centers in doing their work. For the North Carolina Center, one of the major focuses is the guided pathways provided by the framework JFF, Jobs for the Future. And as noted on the screen, JFF has major roles, which has been beneficial to the North Carolina Success Center, a network weaver, strategy partner, service broker, as well as technical assistance provider. Post-secondary success reform relies on institutional transformation at scale for the benefit of upward economic mobility to be actualized for first-generation students, students of color, and students from low-income backgrounds. This slide content shows the transformation possible from monitoring completion, but recognizing the impact of the equitable completion and completion of value. Equitable is ensuring processes and programs are free of barriers that will prohibit students from completing a program, that students earn credentials that increase access to employment opportunities or marketability, and preparation for a specialized career. So the current framework considers every aspect of a student's experience on a community college campus with access to detailed academic plan and support to complete a credential, transfer, or attain employment. So the expanded framework supports a more intentional focus on career outcomes for students. This focus improves pathways that are supported by labor market information design and that address regional individual community needs, support students across racial and social economic lines, and integrate work and experiential learning. So on the left, we see the current pathways, the pillars of the current pathways that are being used, where it is definitely expected for programs with specific course sequence, progress milestone, and preparation for employment or transfer. Career advisement, where students may go through inventories, have career exploration options explored, or definitely do a program selection. Along with ongoing advisement, students can recognize their progress and access support. In addition to the pillars on the left-hand side, as far as the guided pathways, teaching and learning alignment between teaching and practices and students' learning outcomes. And the last piece on that is ensure students are learning where review of continuous improvement is happening. On the right-hand side, you see the expanded pathways. So an overall summary of the expanded pathways includes where programs reflect change based on regional or community needs, based on labor market information, and students obtain credentials and build skills possibly while working and going to school. Acknowledge students' experiences and expertise, access to career advisement, and access to work-based learning. Students having access to flexible programs, such time of the day could be considered, or the length and accommodations for retention, being able to stay, and being able to re-engage if they have to stop out and return. And lastly, students having to access credit-bearing work-based learning aligned to classroom curriculum. So what I'm sharing here is we have our current framework as far as the pillars of the guided pathways on the left, and the JFF just recently announced that the framework for the pillars of the guided pathways will be transitioning to the right, knowing that all students having a pathway, receiving career advisement along the way, knowing their success points, ensuring that teaching and student learning are aligned, and continuous improvement all essential. What the pillars on the right-hand side share, that labor market information will be used to ensure that programs are relevant and will meet the needs of a community and for regional employment as we talk with business and industry about what skill sets and knowledge sets are needed, making sure that students, any previous experience that students have is acknowledged, and that flexibility is available for students. Many of our students are non-traditional who may work full-time jobs and be caregivers and may need a different type of support and accommodations for access to classes. And at the same time, having an opportunity when possible to engage in work-based learning, but ensuring that if they're engaging in work-based learning, that work-based learning is aligned to the standards in the classroom. Okay, so even though each pillar of the enhanced framework, as you see on the screen on the right, are equally important, which one would be a top priority for you in your work? If you will share your response using the second Slido link or place a number 1 through 5 in the chat, that will be very helpful. And I will stop talking to give you 45 seconds to read the enhanced framework as far as the pillars on the right-hand side of the screen, and thinking about your work, which one would be a top priority for you, even though we know that all of them are equally important. Thank you. So this kind of feedback provides great information about how much work we have in common and how our priorities are in common, and which provides essential opportunities for collaboration. So what I gathered here for sure in reference to students, retention, persistence, and re-engagement. So thank you all so much for that feedback. So what I talk about now is the utilization of the ITA, which is Institutional Transformation Assessment, as a tool to support deeper reflection and conversations that can accelerate student success and equity work. The ITA provides review for continuous improvement feedback to the colleges. Colleges participating in the respective cohort A or B will be completing this self-assessment early winter and then have talked with coaches, guided pathway coaches, about their results and next steps. So as you will see on the screen, the ITA will be an individual assessment as well as conversations that will happen. So I was pausing to make sure I had not already put up the areas that will be addressed. So on the screen, you're seeing exactly what happens as far as the actions, where there will be individual reviews, where the colleges will sit down with a team to complete the ITA, which is the Institutional Transformation Assessment. And then there will be conversations about the results from the ITA. So on the next screen, on this screen, this slide, and the next couple of slides cover the areas review on the ITA, which is important to impact transformational change. The 12 areas selected are promising to better support low-income students, first-generation students, and students of color through an integrated approach to scoping, planning, and implementing multiple changes. So the ratings for the rubric will be emerging, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. So as you see here, the areas that will be addressed and talking about students who come on campus and definitely have a goal to earn the credentials or have a goal to do a college transfer, looking at what do we do to get students to stay persistent, and have a completion regarding their four-year plans, regarding their plans for four-year pathways, two-year pathways, digital learning, developmental education, and advising. So the remaining areas of the ITA here looks at emergency aid for students who may need some assistance immediately, leadership and culture, institutional research, strategic finance, information technology, as well as institutional policy or state policy. So all of these areas are addressed, will be addressed by the college participating in the two cohorts as mentioned, so that we can have some feedback on how can we impact transformational change. So there are national service providers that will provide technical assistance based on the outcomes of the ITA, or as well as professional development to centers and colleges through JFF. These providers offer support related to a broad range of skills and issues based on results of the ITA, relevant to the framework for students to access detailed academic plan and support to complete a credential, transfer, or attain employment with pathways of intentional focus on their outcomes. So the center will continue with reimagine the engagement of the cohorts, convening for collaboration on practices that will provide consistency for students among the campuses that support the coordination of expected outcomes of educating more North Carolinians and enhancing North Carolina's workforce. The center's approach for providing support will be that, you see here, participants as college faculty will already know about the presented topic, covering pathways, needs, equity in teacher and learning. But the center will identify what we intend for the participants to know, such as yourselves, when you engage in workshops with us, to align what you already know, but at the same time, think about an action plan and what should happen next to have the transformational change now that you're aware of either new resources or enhanced resources, as well as the outcomes of the ITA. So this slide depicts the continued focus of the center, recognizing that equity is integrated. The integration is operationalizing equity through goals that are tracked and based on data, includes questioning, and includes intentional actions to guided pathways, support, and alignment between teaching and learning. So the next slide reinforces the center's why. So the center's why is student success. So what is student success? So the thought behind the framework is that the pathway to a credential, career, or four-year institution are supported by solutions designed to mitigate student loss points, which are made by possible strengthening institutional operating capacity. Let's look at the colleges engaged in this framework as cohorts. So this will take us to the Student Success Center's website. And on the website for cohort A, I'm going to scroll down to show which colleges are identified as members of cohort A and which colleges are identified as members of cohort B. And it gives you the year here to see when the cohorts started. So for cohort A, started in 2018, and these are the colleges that are identified as members of cohort A. I'm going to click to the next one to show which colleges are members of cohort B, which started in 2019. Okay. So we do plan to onboard more colleges to become members of cohort C. So as I definitely click through the different colleges, the director of Guided Pathways and I have had several conversations as we have looked at this list, two lists together, and as we have a goal to onboard more schools through cohort C, the director of Guided Pathways and Equity and I will be visiting campuses soon, along with the Guided Pathway coaches. Upon those visits, we'll be looking at ways to engage the cohorts through spring meetings, support, and workshops. We know that the pandemic altered participation plan coaching activities, but with the next couple of slides, we'll share the basic needs in teaching and learning hubs and information about the Success Center network and partners. So please note that you will start receiving calls for us to come out to visit, as well as for more information about colleges coming together this upcoming winter and spring to do some more coaching to find out what is needed to move forward for the transformational change as identified for what the different colleges need. So what I want to share here in reference to the other focus, I'll talk about the guided pathways. Now I want to talk about basic needs. There are system-wide license to find help, previously known as Aunt Bertha, as well as Single Stop. Several campuses are participating in the studies to determine the return on investment for these services and their purpose. The studies are also comparing student users and student non-users to determine the impact of regarding persistence, retention, and completion of a program. Aunt Bertha allows colleges to add their own resources to the social care network. So let's look at Find Help. Let's look at Find Help. So Aunt Bertha is now known as Find Help. So sometimes I have to remember that Aunt Bertha has changed to Find Help. So what I want to do is look at how this tool looks or how this platform may look to students. So Aunt Bertha, there is a link for as well as description on the Student Success Center's website. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click the link. If a student were to use this platform or how to access this platform will be a link on the Success Center's website or the colleges that are using this platform may have a link on their individual website where students know where to go to get services. So I'm going to key in a zip code and let's see what the findings are and do a search. So here it shows that over 1,876 programs exist in these respective areas. And so once a student were to put in the respective code, zip code for where the service is needed, you will have the different categories, and then the student then may click on the category of service that is needed. So I will click on housing to see what comes up. Let's see, I anticipate, let's see, go back to housing, and there were, looks like 70 options came up. So what is here, it gives the students a description of the service that is available, and then the students will then click to find out more as to how to access the services. And just to scroll through, you can see how it may look to the students. So as I shared, there's a study happening right now where colleges are looking at the, does this type of platform meet the needs of the students? And is it a return on investment? How well the return on investment is. So I'm gonna stop showing my screen here regarding Bertha Find Help. And now I'm going to look at Single Stop. And this just comes up for one of our colleges that do have Single Stop on a page where students may access. And as I shared here earlier, with Single Stop, the model meets the students where they are so that they may remain focused on their academic goal and connect students to vital resources such as free tax preparation, benefits, counseling, and other campus and community resources. So I'm just going to scroll down so you can see what that may look like to a student. Okay, so the next to the last work that I want to talk about for the North Carolina's Student Success Center is the Teaching and Learning Hubs are collaborating with the Belk Center at North Carolina State University, the North Carolina Student Success Center, and Achieving the Dream. This collaboration is happening due to the results of a survey that was completed by chief academic officers as well as a faculty focus group. So these two components identify a need for professional learning program for faculty and staff. So therefore the hubs are being established. The hubs will leverage the work of offering workshops by the center, the Student Success Center, for the purpose of contextualizing content for effective practices. For example, the center will be offering a workshop this coming spring covering ADA compliance for teaching online. And then the respective hub will provide a deeper dive for implementation of ADA compliance through online teaching. So let's see who are the leads and the affiliated colleges of the different hubs. The East Hub will be co-hosted by Lenoir Community College and Carteret Community College for the listed affiliated colleges. And as you will see, we do have two co-directors, Rebecca Lanier with Carteret Community College and Kelly Sorensen with Lenoir Community College. The West Hub will be co-hosted by Catawba Valley Community College and Wilkes Community College for the listed affiliated colleges. The co-directors are Dr. Elizabeth Braun and Dr. Natasha Harris. The center will continue to offer workshops for integrating equity, goals, and operational activities during spring 22, in addition to offering its second Equity Coach Academy. Applications will be available this winter. The center is pleased that 10 community colleges, the Belk Center, and the system office supported 27 graduates of the inaugural class. These graduates will be engaging in campus equity activities and serve as mentors for the next academy participants. I will pause here to see if there are any questions about any of the information that has been presented thus far. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and share any questions or put it in the chat. Okay. I don't see anything listed in the chat. I don't hear anyone asking any questions, so I'll keep going. Okay. All right, so here's a summary of the professional learning and workshops offered by the center, considering last spring as well as this fall. The center provided the GPS 100 series this past spring with a capacity to reach 300 participants per session. The center will be offering the GPS 100 series again, spring 22. The format will include a subject matter expert covering one of the enhanced pillars that I mentioned earlier, to be followed by a small group discussion, and then wrapped up where an intentional plan of action collaboration will happen during the session. So there will be 3 components, again, through the GPS 100 series, which appear to be well received based on feedback and comments that I've heard and read about the GPS 100 that was offered this past spring. The center will also continue offering supporting workshops covering effective strategies for equity integration and guided pathways. So how to find out about workshops being offered by the center? Okay. You can find out about sessions being offered by the center on the center's webpage. And as you will see here, workshops will be added for spring 22. And we do have some sessions remaining for the fall, and would like for you to consider joining us if you have not participated in any of their workshops. About 200 faculty representing 50 of the colleges are participating in the listed ACUE micro-credentials this fall. Just want to share with you some more about some of the offerings that is by the Success Center this fall. The Center's advisory board is a partner function with a primary purpose to provide collective expertise as guidance for the center to be successful with its strategic plan. Yes, the center has a strategic plan that aligns to its focus. The board members are experts of community college presidents, staff of community colleges, the system office, education agencies, and national partners. The next 2 slides present the board members too. The service of all the board members is highly appreciated. The Center's advisory board bring a wealth of knowledge and skills that will impel the center to support the guided pathways cohorts. The center has several funders as presented here, supporting the focus of the basic needs, equity, guided pathways in teaching and learning. The funders are investing in transformational change through guidance, technical support, professional learning. The next several slides will cover another part of the center, which is called the Student Success Centers Network. The Success Centers Network core strength, its unique role as a national learning community of post-secondary leaders. 10 years ago, the idea of a Success Center was native in Arkansas and Michigan. So how many states comprise of the network now? Anybody want to guess? Want to say or put it in the chat? Okay, so 16. So the National Success Center Network now includes 16 statewide success centers. Each center supports a network of community colleges in their efforts to increase student completion rates, close equity gaps, and strengthen communities. So what is the percentage of United States community college supported? Okay, so I will share. So the percentage is 52. So at least half of the United States community colleges are supported through the Student Success Center network, and at least half of North Carolina's community colleges are members of cohort A or B. So I definitely appreciate everyone's participation in learning more about the Success Center. So I have one more question regarding the overall content. Okay, so in the chat, will you share your any takeaways from today's presentation or use Slido? And I think I saw one a few minutes ago with someone said they didn't realize that many states were involved or colleges were involved. So I'll give you just 15 more seconds to share any other takeaways. This is good feedback to know if the message is being conveyed about the purpose of the Success Center, the focus of the Success Center, the partners of the Success Center, as well as Success Center being involved to impact institutional change. Okay. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up to say, thank you all for joining me today. I am Dolores Ali, the Executive Director of the Student Success Center. I am fortunate to work with Dr. Patrick Crane, the Vice President, who has welcomed me nicely, and I appreciate his services tremendously, as well as the support of all of the directors who are at different colleges throughout North Carolina, Hiram McMeekin, Bridget Myers. Then we have John Hardy, who has been very helpful, help us with ITA. On site in the system office, we have Jennifer McLean, who helps us with basic needs, and definitely Gracie Davis, who is helping with daily operations of the Success Center. And so we do have many partners, as I shared, having the advice of the board members, having a partnership of all of the staff members in the system office, so which is highly appreciated, as well as working with the Belk Center over at NC State and Achieving the Dream, and JFF providing the framework of work. So I do ask that you follow the center on LinkedIn to stay abreast of happenings and articles covering the center's focus. And so I shared with you all earlier, and I asked the question, so what are the focuses? Basic needs, equity, guided pathways, and teaching and learning. I'm available by telephone, email, Teams, or you can come to Suite, the area 172D, to visit with me as well as Gracie. And I will stop sharing my screen so that I can see who I've been talking at or with this morning, and to see if you all have any questions. Thank you for this morning's opportunity to share about the Success Center.
Thank you so much, Dolores. That was really great information. And I think just based on what's in the chat, there's a lot of good information, and myself included didn't realize how broad and expansive the Success Center movement has become. So this is really, really great. Are there any last questions or comments that anybody would like to unmute and share? Trying to be a good teacher and give you some wait time.
Yes, yes.
All righty. Well, if y'all think of questions or need additional information following today's session, please reach out to Ms. Ali. She is just a wealth of knowledge, and we're very, very glad to have her as a part of the system office team. So thank you again, Dolores, for your time today. I just want to remind folks that on Monday at 10 is our next session. It'll be on governance and board relations with our general counsel, Tawanda Artist. So just want to remind you of that. And with that, I'll just again thank you and wish you well. Have a great weekend.
Yes. Take care, everyone.
JW, are you still there? Dolores, I'm gonna get JW to stop the recording.
All right, thank you. Dr. Ease, are you still on?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm getting ready to text JW. I'm not sure if he can hear us.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much for hosting this morning. So I think it went well, and I appreciate you guiding me through, getting me through this, and always look forward to talking with you soon, face to face.
Absolutely, and I apologize. My camera was pointing at the ceiling this morning, so I didn't turn it on. I couldn't get the settings. My docking station at home, it resets my my camera, so I'll get that figured out at some point. I apologize.
That's okay, but it's good to hear you. Definitely always good to hear your voice, and hopefully one day we can get together and have lunch. I guess we're still recording, so I'm gonna stop talking. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right. Is it okay for me to go ahead and leave?
Yes, ma'am. You go right ahead. I'm gonna stay on until I get a hold of JW.